to Jason's trip. It takes 45 minutes to get to Camden from Little Venice on 2 different canals. Just quickly, Jason is the name of the boat. Jason is a proper working boat originally. I'll talk about the Jason in a few moments. And the first canal we're on is the Grand Union Canal here in Little Venice. The Grand Union Canal. Underneath the Blue Bridge is the Regent's Canal. That will take us to Camden. So this is the end of the Grand Union Canal. It actually turns right beyond what is known as Browning's Island. And beyond the island, where that white building is, this canal, the Grand Union Canal, goes on for about 10 minutes past Paddington station, and it comes to a dead end. Behind us, the Grand Union Canal goes all the way to Birmingham in the middle of England. So we could turn the boat around and really get involved in what the canals are all about. The canals are man-made waterways that connect towns and cities and ports all over the country. And they were built for industry, not for the public. They were built for industry at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, before the railways. So the whole system is about transporting industrial cargo on working boats like the one you're sitting in. If we turn around and instead of going to Camden, we're now on the Regent's Canal, remember, say we were on our way to Birmingham, which is about 2 hours away in a car, we could get to Birmingham on this boat in about 2 weeks. Canal travel is very slow, which is really the beauty of it. But it's very slow with an engine or with a horse. And I mention that because the towpath where you see people walking is actually called the towpath because it was built for the horse to walk on. The working boats in the past used to be pulled along by a horse. They didn't always have engines. So one horse would tow the working boat along. Therefore, it's called the towpath. Now, I'll come back to the subject matter of the horses, this boat and industry that's behind everything we're looking at in a little while, but let's get up to date. The canal is really for the public's enjoyment these days, so it was opened up to the public in the late 20th century. And today it's about relaxation, recreation, enjoyment. Different boats do everything from, like this one does a guided tour, other boats will do parties or corporate parties, some boats do classrooms, other boats you can just take out yourself and hope that you have a nice, pleasant time on the canals going up and down as if it was a boating pond. But there's much more to it than that. The boats you see on either side here are people's full-time homes. It's not the part-time thing. I mean, it is for some people, but then something over 90% of the boats you'll see like this, and we're going to see a lot, are people's full-time homes. And they are not barges, they're not houseboats, these ones. These are called narrowboat homes. Just for the sake of just getting your eye tuned into the appearance of things. Barges are much bigger and to do with industry, at least in this country. And this space on the right-hand side, that's somebody's private, permanent residence mooring space. So that's what somebody pays an annual lease for, to have their boat in their own space that no one else can take when they travel. Narrowboat homes, the long, thin, kind of square shape. Same shape as the boat you're sitting in, except the boat you're sitting in is a working boat, but also a home in the past. So the engine room at the back was the living space in the old days. It's got an engine at the back of this boat, as most of the boats have, but this boat is 118, so this didn't always have an engine at the back of the boat. So you're actually looking at different aspects of history all the time that we move through this very beautiful, at the moment, very beautiful changing scenery. Narrowboat homes. And they're kitchens that use bottled gas for cooking and heating water, coal and wood burners for keeping warm. Some of them have got central heating. They'll definitely have a shower and a toilet on board. And a lot of variations, sitting rooms, bedrooms, studies, playrooms, lots of different variations, and also a large water tank and usually they've got an engine as well. The engine generates electricity as it goes along. A resident family of swans. Something in the foreground about the way people have always lived on the canal in one way or another, always accompanied by the bird life as we go along. And notice, and you can hear London around us as well. So all the time, what's on either side of London, what's on either side of the canal I should say, is London. And if you think that the canal was built 210 years ago, 210 years ago, most of London was not built. So none of these buildings that you can see were even here. The canal was built mostly through countryside and farmland. So you're actually looking, just sitting where you are, looking at what has happened in London since the beginning of the 19th century in terms of the Regent's Canal. The railway age came after. The Victorian, most of the Industrial Revolution, the 20th century, 2 world wars, and eventually the canal opened to the public. Now we go slowly anyway on the canal, and a couple of other paces we go, a couple of other speeds we go extra slowly when we're passing boats like this, so we don't run about with the movement of the water, and also we slow down being aware of who else is using the canals as well. So what's happening here is we come to a very particular feature of our trip on the canal, and this is a tunnel that is 275 yards long, and it takes the canal through a hill. So just to kind of where you're sitting, look how the canal rises on both sides. This is describing the landscape. The canal is cut through the Maida Hill. So on top, where you see the cafe on top of the tunnel, that's the Edgware Road. Away to the right, in about a mile, the Edgware Road comes to Marble Arch. So the tunnel is built to take the canal through a hill. It's as I said, 275 yards long, it's 250 metres. There's quite a few people in the little grey boats today, so the grey boats you can hire by the hour. They certainly need a bit of marshalling, especially when it comes to the tunnel. And I think there's another boat just behind. There's a couple of boats in the tunnel, so we'll have to wait our turn. Normally, if people have made it this far onto the boat, they're not in a hurry. You won't get the canal boat because you're in a hurry. But we are aware of what's going on, and I'm just kind of use this opportunity to say a little bit more. Not every trip gets quite so much detail about how this part of the trip, the tunnel, connects and brings the past to life as well. So remember, you're on a working boat, and I said that this boat's 118 back in 1906 till about the 1920s, before this boat had its first engine put on. You're on a boat that would have been pulled along by a horse. So imagine we didn't have an engine. Up to this point, just before the tunnel, the horse will pull you along. If the boats come near us, keep everything inside the boat. So generally just bounce, okay? So look like they're about to come in contact. How many people? So this is where you kind of need a bit of imagination before we get into the tunnel. If we were being pulled along by a horse, just where the guy's standing on the left-hand side, you notice that there's no more pathway. And the tunnel is one of the long tunnels, and they didn't build a pathway for the horse in the long tunnel. So